Hello again to another Calera Reacts. Today is Wednesday and we'll be watching something entertaining. To me anyway. So, why The Witcher 3 will always be my favorite game? And this is a sentence that I could probably say as well. Because I absolutely loved that game. I mind, I don't play that many games. Like I do play Fortnite from time to time. Now, I used to be addicted to Fortnite, but not anymore. And then I am trying to record my Cyberpunk playthrough, but that's not going great. Mostly because I just have no time for it, and I like to play longer, kind of, you know. Never mind. So, this is from PlayStation Access, and it was published on 16th October 2020, so about 2 months before Cyberpunk 2077 came out. And let's just get into it, and let's just start. That's a view. I love those views in that game. They are so awesome. Sunsets and stuff. I could just sometimes just sit there and just watch the sunset doing nothing in the game. There you go, just like this.
Hello, welcome to Access. My name is Nathan and welcome to a video which is all about how much I love The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. It might be quite long and I am not sorry. PS5 is nearly with us and I'd originally planned this video as a celebration of a game which is probably my favourite from the PS4 era. And then of course CD Projekt Red announced that The Witcher 3 would also be on PS5, which is brilliant and just makes it relevant all over again. This isn't going to be a comprehensive look at The Witcher. I'm not sure how long that video would be, but it would be much longer than this one. This is going to be about the things I love, what the game has made me think and what makes it magic. The thing that The Witcher 3 does best, better than most other games, is war. This doesn't sound remarkable until you consider the huge number of games that are specifically about war, that make you do war, live and die inside it, and that war itself never appears in The Witcher, at least not directly. We see battlefields and garrisons, occupations and barricades, but never open conflict. War is in a constant state of passing through. Enormous and unseen, always present but at some distant proximity.
It's there, but it's not
conflict in the world of The Witcher is born of a political situation so complicated that there is an NPC in Vizima whose only function is to explain to you what side everybody is on. He's great actually, Ambassador Var Atra, one of the dozens of quietly human characters that help give the game its sense of remarkable depth.
I've been stationed in Novigrad for 13 years. First as a consul, then as ambassador. I've seen a great deal. Cruelty, cynicism, greed. But what is happening there now concerns me greatly.
He's onto a loser here though, because without obvious heroes and villains, his dry account of frontiers and fighting remains impenetrable to all but the Witcher faithful. What he should say is, the Nilfgaardians are invading the fragile alliance of the Northern Kingdoms, everyone is a bit bad. But instead, he goes into details. The war is confusing and indistinct. And fair enough, because the story of war The Witcher tells is specifically one of ordinary people, for whom war is confusing, its details superfluous. Actually, it's misleading to call it the story. The Witcher 3 is more like a collection of stories, a chorus of fables and morality plays.
Let's see these books of yours.
This is perhaps where the game most closely resembles its folk-tale-inspired source. So much of the character of the game resides in the weary, accumulated wisdom of the side quests and incidental plot lines that Geralt stumbles into, where, as in Andrzej Sapkowski's books, decisive ethical strokes are invariably parried, and a wry combination of duty, hunger and fear triumph repeatedly over idealism. One of the game's first quests, Missing in Action, has Geralt searching through corpses on a fresh battlefield looking for the brother of a nervous villager. He finds the man nearby, hiding with a Nilfgaardian deserter from the enemy ranks. The two wounded soldiers had helped each other from the field, and now the found brother would shelter his unlikely friend. It falls to Geralt to make the imperfect choice: murder the Nilfgaardian, or convince a man to put his family at risk for a stranger. The pattern is repeated over and over. In White Orchard, Geralt helps a dwarven blacksmith whose forge has been burnt in retaliation for aiding Nilfgaard. Track down the culprit and refuse his bribe, the good choice, we unswervable detectives think.
Magpies and dwarves might be greedy, but I'm not. Can't buy me.
and the dwarf summons the Nilfgaardians to hang the drunk and desperate peasant while Geralt looks on uneasily. Sure, the guy was a vengeful arsonist, but man, that dwarf is a dick.
Yeah.
Harsh as punishment goes.
But deserved.
Geralt stands apart from the world and everyone in it, freed from impossible choices. He's a brilliant creation, the perfect body in which to tour the no man's murk of Velen and beyond. A powerful, neutral force like a wandering Ronin. In fact, bits of Geralt, his tied hair and long swords, his spinning fighting style and that wolfish look, are so reminiscent of Toshiro Mifune, the star of Akira Kurosawa's samurai films, that you get the feeling Mifune must have been in CD Projekt's minds as they built their version of Geralt. I rewatched Kurosawa's Yojimbo recently, and there's a moment when Mifune squares off with a band of small town thugs who even look like a gaggle of NPCs, all shorter, thinner and less substantial than Mifune, all bound by the visual grammar of video game toughness. And I thought, I've played this. In fact, I've come to see Geralt as a compound creation, comprised of both Mifune Samurai and Clint Eastwood's translation of the same character from Sergio Leone's bootleg Yojimbo remake A Fistful of Dollars. Geralt has Eastwood's scowling eyes and, most importantly for English language players, something of Eastwood's voice too, an unsurprisable
I
veteran's
think that cocker was
drawl.
actually inspired
A witch
by
lives around here
the
somewhere.
Clint Eastwood's
You know
voice
her?
and how
They
he
are
was
all three
speaking.
men of the frontier,
I haven't played the
source
English
of both
version yet,
hope
so
and
I just
fear
played
to
Polish.
ordinary folk who instinctively grasp that they are somehow summoned by the very conflicts they protect against. The samurai connection also places The Witcher in a tradition of stories which flee to the supernatural in order to explain the uncanny wrench of war. Stories like Kanato Shindo's Onibaba and Kuroneko. Again, we have Sapkowski's rich folky source to thank here. Magic is woven into the moral fabric of The Witcher. Monsters are occasionally simple remnants of a wild world, but more often than not, the supernatural represents a wound or a wronging. There are wraiths staked to the land by misdeeds, parasitic shadow spirits called hymns which feed on guilt, and above all, various species of necrophage,
Guys, I don't
ghouls and
remember much of
neckers
it.
and drowners feeding on the fallen, digging up corpses, dragging our transgressions back into the light. Geralt's bestiary is thick and thriving, a compendium of how the faults and failures of the living are remembered by the dead.
that like a
It's also
ghost
worth
in there?
mentioning that if magic is a moral force in The Witcher,
Kind of,
it's
isn't it?
also strangely ordinary. While other fantasy fictions glimpse magic
I
only
did
at the
play on
fringes,
Xbox too,
here it is the first and usually
Yeah.
right answer to every mystery Geralt
That was-
confronts. The botchling, Jenny of the Woods, the living tree, the haunted house. That bump you hear in the night probably is something spectral or sorcerous. The world of The Witcher teems with the supernatural. And at the same time, the world of The Witcher, the land itself, is completely indifferent to it. It is a disruptively, interruptively good-looking place to exist, inviting constant
Look at those
stopping,
views, guys.
framing and admiring. It's time-consuming and also timeless, literally, in relation to the game's narrative track, which I would escape for pointless and irresistible rides over hills and towards sunsets. The events of Geralt's hunt for Ciri, the end of the world, and everything
Look at
paused
this
for
view,
however long I
guys.
chose to sail
Wow.
and gallop and sightsee. To any kid who grew up losing themselves in fantasy fiction, this is no surprise. There has always been a connection between my love of fantasy and the idea of
Isn't
landscape.
that-
The feeling I had as a 10-year-old boy picking up a stick in the woods near my home on the North Downs in Kent, a stick that could be a sword or an axe, a world of chalk hills and falling leaves that could be the wilderness in any story I wanted, is the same tingling sense of possibility I felt and still feel galloping roach across the continent. Tolkien, like the genre he forged, was obsessed with topography. Great green swathes of The Lord of the Rings consist of detailed, affectionate descriptions of hills, dales, leaves and branches. Boys in Terry Pratchett's school recommended Tolkien's epic because, Pratchett wrote, it had got maps in it, which struck me at the time as a pretty good indicator of quality. And of course
Love
it
Terry
was.
Pratchett books.
Name the last fantasy
This
epic
one is
you
awesome.
read that didn't open with a hand-drawn map of a place you'd never heard of but desperately wanted to
Yeah.
discover.
Eye of the
One of my
World.
favourite things about the world of The Witcher is this discoverability, how
Haven't
rigged
heard
it is
that.
for
I
revelation
started
and
the
adventure.
previous one,
It
but-
doesn't feel like a flat map of things which exist in two-dimensional relation to each other. It feels like a textured world of openings and opportunities, of doorways and secrets. The The Witcher is, in the real world, for me, a portal to a place of magic, a place I visited easily as a child, as much as I did Narnia or Elador or the linked worlds of the Northern Lights. I have a sense as I ride through the continent of how continually, bafflingly immersive it is, constantly matching child me's conception of what a fantasy landscape should look and feel like. Swaying trees, distant mountains, dramatic and unlikely feats of architecture. And this brings us back to the idea of magic and reading. Indulge me here because we're coming to the end of a generation. When I first played The Witcher, I was reading Ursula Le Guin's Earthsea for the first time, and her stories fell into my playing of The Witcher to create a hybrid world of green hills, searching sailboats, and a shared idea of magic. Because in Earthsea, wizards gain power over objects, creatures, rocks, the sea, by learning their true names. The book's hero is a young wizard called Sparrowhawk, whose real name, Ged, must be kept secret from all but his closest friends. Early on he learns a rhyme to herd goats and compels a falcon to his hand by calling its name. As he comes more fully into his power, Ged confronts an old dragon and by sounding its name, by knowing the dragon, is able to command it not to come east to the land of people. Alan Moore, the comic book writer who considers himself an actual magician, once said, "Magic in its earliest form is often referred to as the art." I believe this is completely literal. I believe that magic is art, and that art, whether it be writing, music, sculpture or any other form, is literally magic. Art is, like magic, the science of manipulating symbols, words or images to achieve changes in consciousness. And look, there are similarities here with how magic is presented in The Witcher, a game in which the hero can etch a rune in the air to gain temporary control of enemy minds, to achieve literal changes in consciousness. But there's a deeper connection to games themselves. The art of games development has its own magic. It is, after all, the act of rending a reality from nothing. Summoning a place and a plane into being from numbers and darkness. What is the technical and precise labour of writing code if not a form of incantation? Patterns and processes of logic, weaving intricate worlds which, like the spells in Earthsea, depend on the comprehensive naming and ordering of things. And that's what The Witcher 3 represents. An exhaustive litany of naming, a conjuring so ambitious and meticulous that it somehow holds together and lives. And that's why I love The Witcher, because it's about things I've always loved: fantasy, possibility, magic. Of course it's about plenty of other things too, like stealing dried fish or courting an unlikely number of sorceresses, because truly it is often harder to stop Geralt taking his trousers off than to simply let him get on with it. It's about card games and fistfights, treasure hunting and beard styling. But for me, more than anything, it's a hand-drawn map of a place I don't know yet. A portal not to a world, but back to a way of thinking and seeing, when I could swing a stick that might be a sword or an axe, and anything was possible. So there are some of my thoughts on what makes The Witcher 3 such a special game, and that is enough for me. Subscribe for more videos like this, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. That was cool. I think that was really well done. And he actually said what I would like to say. I'm just not as eloquent, and I wouldn't be having so many words to, describe why Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, is my favorite game. Because it is. And I did read the books, obviously. And I did watch the show. I'm still kind of waiting for the second part of the third season, because I want to watch all in one go. So we'll see how it goes. I'm very sad that Henry Cavill is leaving as Geralt, but well, that's how it is. We don't know exactly what's going on there, so yes. What do you think? Did you play Witcher 3 Wild Hunt? Did you read the books? Did you watch the show? And what do you think? Because I think that was a very good video. And yes, Witcher 3 is my favorite game. Now, I do have to put a caveat there that I haven't played that many games in my lifetime. So, I don't have many to choose from. And, yeah, but it is. All those, what he just described there was absolutely mind-boggling to me when I was playing the games, because it's actually really, really good. And like I said, I could just go towards the sunset and just stare at it for till it goes down in the game. And I think this is how I got more than 360 hours on this. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. No, what I'm talking about next week? Tomorrow. You're gonna see me tomorrow with another video. Bye.